As you see, this is Topper is an engineer. His subject is electrical engineering, and still he got 143 in GS4. Why? Correspondingly, he got 200 marks in interview. Why? Do you think that electrical engineering has a direct consequence in that? No. What has direct consequence in that? The direct consequence is that he has an evolved mind. When I'm saying evolved mind, obviously we are not talking about sending you to Mars or some, lunar orbiter program. But what we are trying to say is that when you have an evolved mind, when you have the critical thinking, right, you start analyzing things. Hello, everyone. Am I audible? Okay, I'm audible. How are you? General studies is one area which is very difficult to decode it. Most of the students, they run from pillar to post, obviously trying to find out what are the complexities involved in this study. Especially for UPSc, general studies is as per the name which is given, general studies. It has to be highly generalized. Most of you try to make it specialized, whereas optional is more specialized. General studies is not specialized, it is generalized. But we go into too much of specialization. That's good. Nothing wrong with that. We cannot leave anything to chance when it comes to our career, right? Our civil services, our bread, butter, our livelihood, our ambition, our goal, right? So obviously there are categories of people, right? So hi everyone, this is Ashutosh, and we'll be starting with this Genius-50 program, which is for the beginners. It is for all those people who believe that success can be only achieved through a rigorous combination of hard work, common sense, logical understanding, a rational perspective towards one's ambition, and obviously a very evolved mix of intellect, intelligence, common sense, obviously hard work, inspiration, perspiration, right, and a lot of Asian, right. So all those people who are beginners, who are starting for the UPSC preparation, maybe 25, 26 is their target, they need to understand very simply that the purpose of your preparation is not just to enter into the mains exam or not just to qualify your prelims exam, but probably to have a better rank in the first score. There are always possibilities that over a period of time, the government will deny people more chances once they get through the civil services, and that is logical also. Why to give people a lot of chances, right? They are overcrowding the competition. Already there's a flood of graduates and postgraduates and engineers and a lot of professionals into this field, and then already there are people who are already statically staying in this preparation. So they are basically blocking the way for the others. So what becomes important in this regard, or in this scenario, what becomes more important is that how, right? How are we going to start with this preparation? Fine. I know many of you might have started doing it, right? With something called NCRT. Now, what is the utility of NCRT, right? So let us leave all that first discussion. We'll talk about, right, exactly why people are not able to understand or utilize their time invested in the general studies. And then they again go for a lot of other activities. So general studies, very important, is only about reading this, right? Or is about reading some advanced books. Right? Let us imagine that you have tried to understood, or you have understood this formula, right? A lot of politicians are using this formula, right? 2AB, right? They're also asking from where this 2AB has come, right? So obviously, uh, we need some mathematicians to answer that. Fine, but let us say you have studied this formula. This is called Pythagoras theorem, as you all know. Pythagoras theorem obviously talks about the relationship between the different sides of a triangle. Fine. Now, what is important is to memorize this formula, or is it also important to understand how exactly this formula works, right? A square plus b square, let's see. So, is it necessary to know this, right? Now, you will say obviously that most of the exams will be concerned with this, right? Correct. But UPSC, as you know, is not an exam which is concerned with this. It is also concerned with this, right? So how do we balance it? Do we focus only on this, or do we also remember this and let us imagine that the examiner will not ask this? So this is the biggest dilemma that most of the general studies students feel: theory, understanding, and the information that is derived from understanding of that theory. So information is vital or the theory is vital. Now you have to think about it. You want to talk about society, you need to understand Indian society. How will you understand Indian society? Are you studying only sociology or the Indian society part in general studies paper 1? Or you also need to understand the historical factors that have led to the emergence of that kind of society, right? Let us say geography, demography, right? So physical geography, these are more or less static features, right? But let us jump on to the paper 2, polity and governance, right? Or international relations, or let's say environmental governance, science and tech, economics, or Indian economy, international economy, disaster management, internal security, or simple topics, right? But they can also pose lot of threats in terms of writing answers if the questions become more applied. So majority of the beginners who start, they believe that they will invest 1 year or 1.5 years in knowing the syllabus, and then next 1 year obviously in preparing that syllabus properly for the level of the examination. Now imagine if you can do both the things together. Now how can you do both the things together? That's the question, and that is where this program comes into picture. That is the logic or rationality of this program. That do we need to study for 1.5 years, so-called dinosaurs, right? So it's time obviously to leave the dinosaurs now, right? They are ancient history now. So is it possible that we can develop our understanding at the same time while we are learning a particular topic? Yes, we can. And we cannot just do it by writing answers, right? Good questions given, complicated topics given, and answers are being written. No, we cannot do that. We can do that by first starting to question, right? That is called the critical perspective or critical theory. Question everything. How will you question everything? Obviously, it's not talking about, right, questioning the chat GPT or the Google and getting that answer or the links of the answer. It's not about questioning everything in that way. How do we question? What is the makeup of this program? That is the reality, that is the logic behind which the UPSC functions. It requires a thinking being, a critical being, right? When you say I'm a critical being, right? Obviously, most of us in India are critical being because we are very good at criticism. Now, this critical being is not criticism, right? This is also very important logic which you must understand while preparing for UPSC, right? Criticize, critically evaluate, critically explain is not criticism. So, when you are a critical being, are you criticizing? No, right? You are finding out the critical aspect, right? When you say something is critical, something is very important. Something is very urgent. Something is of non-negotiable nature. So when something is of non-negotiable nature, what needs to be done, right? It needs to be understood. Something beyond, or unless you do that, you cannot move ahead, right? That is the meaning of being a critical being. So a critical being is one who tries to, or who poses a question. Now, obviously, format of most of the general studies preparation programs is such that it is difficult for any student and even the teacher to respond to everything. And obviously, there are a lot of things with which people are busy, right? Let us very important aspect today is motivation, right? Motivation leads to something called preaching. Fine. Whereas inspiration leads to something called teaching or doing. So now which aspect of preparation are you ready for? This one? Yeah. Obviously, most of you are highly motivated, right? You're so motivated that you're going to the war without having any tools. So you're driven by the desire to do something, right? Without having the adequate skill, without having the adequate arsenal with you. And how do you feel you can do it, right? Obviously, you can feel it by the narrative that is developed. Fine. Prelims, ye 5 tricks. Now, if you think you are the only one who knows that trick, if you think you are the only smart person in the world or in this entire country, right, which have a lot of IITs, which have a lot of IIMs, which have a lot of central universities, which have a lot of other high-end educational institutions, and majority of the middle class or lower middle class have only one purpose in life, is to educate their children, and for the children, obviously, to study. Study as the means of transforming their lives or their probably social mobility, their status in society. So if you know the tricks, are you the only one who knows the trick? Right? And if you're knowing the trick, then everybody else is knowing the trick. What else do you know then? The trick doesn't remain the trick. It remains a general information for everyone. Fine. Now, obviously, when you are going for this model, right? This model is a more step by step, right? This is more rigorous. The human beings are such aspirants. You must realize that human beings are such, they are such evolved species that when they do things step by step, right, they ultimately evolve, right? And you cannot reverse it. What you can do this, you can exhaust it. There might be a 6th trick, there might be a 10th trick which someone else must be knowing, right? Somebody obviously, there are a lot of people, right, who can solve those mathematics questions probably in 15 minutes, which probably will take 1 hour for you to do. So what is important? Is it only knowing the tricks, or there is strategizing? Fine. So let us say, so when you build a narrative that general studies, you have to get 400 plus odd marks. How do you get it? Okay, let's say GS paper 1, fine, you can get around 100. GS paper 2, students studying public administration or polity and political science, obviously they can cross 100 plus, right? Likewise, as you see, this is Topper is an engineer. His subject is electrical engineering, and still he got 143 in GS4. Why? Correspondingly, he got 200 marks in interview. Why? Do you think that electrical engineering has a direct consequence in that? No. What has direct consequence in that? The direct consequence is that he has an evolved mind. When I'm saying evolved mind, obviously we are not talking about sending you to Mars or some, lunar orbiter program. But what we are trying to say is that when you have an evolved mind, when you have the critical thinking, right, you start analyzing things. I don't need to teach you. We don't need to teach you. Nobody needs to give you, right, a lot of pointers. See, this is also one mechanism which most of you talk about, right? Pointers. What are the pointers? What is to be underlined? You are more focused on getting things underlined. And when obviously end of the day you have 5,000 pages, a lot of things underlined. In fact, everything is underlined. And you are underlying between them. So what you do feel, what you miss is, you don't miss anything underlined, right? What you miss is the underlying, right? You miss the nuances. What is a nuance? Nuance is an undercurrent. So how this program is going to work, right? That is the reason, that is the basis on which we have developed this program, right? With a decade of teaching a lot of students, it was realized that yes, what is the biggest factor? What is the biggest problem with majority of these students? And in spite of knowing the information, in spite of teaching them with the same methodology, right? Why some are not able to score and some are able to score very well? So there is a difference, right? Imagine a student, a person reads books. Obviously, now you cannot develop the habit instantly, right? But you can inculcate it over a period of time. So you're reading books. Once you're reading books, you're in the habit of reading books, you'll start reading books for the exam also, right? One has the habit of collecting notes. Collecting notes, obviously, without first hand reading. Now, what is the difference? Right? They can do well in the examinations where there is certainty. So, where there is a certainty of syllabus, a defined syllabus, they can do very well, no doubt. Fine. But where there is an exam which is primarily a probability, lot of or a major part of the exam works on anticipation, right, or gut feeling, right? You can call as a good hunch, guesstimation. Now see, so majority of the aspirants fall under this category, and that is why they enjoy the study of general studies in that particular way. Dictation, notes, dictation, answer writing. After once you finish this, read this book, acquire the information, do this, do this, do this. Whereas these students, right? These students, they imagine or they develop their imagination because they are reading books, or at least they are trying to go through the understanding of the topic in a more rigorous manner. So they put this effort in the beginning itself, and that is the foundational effort. Majority of you don't do that, right? And obviously the right purpose, the ultimate purpose of any coaching is that, because we are coaching you for a competition. We are making you capable to compete, and for that, a major basis of information should be your understanding. That is your self-learning ability. So most of these models, they eliminate the self-learning ability, right? And this is where the model that we have tried to inculcate, the methodology by which we have been teaching, we have replicated the same methodology in a constructive program, right, which will be 12 months program, right? It will have phase-wise understanding, because very important, right? It's not just about subject-wise, topic-wise, syllabus-wise, or paper-wise understanding. You need to break that into phases, right? Phases of learning. That are phases of learning, right? For example, you need to have initiation, right? Then you need to have acceptance. I'll tell you what does it mean. Initiation, acceptance. Fine. Then understanding, then application, and finally is visualization. Now, this is a phase that requires a lot of time to reach here. Okay, that is why we have divided it into parts, right? For example, a mains perspective, the prelims perspective, and then the practice perspective. So this program is totally broken into three basic, what you can say, compartments, which are obviously interrelated. They are not isolated from each other, right? Mains, prelims, practice. These three compartments would be interrelated, right? It is the methodology that we have developed. So, initiation, right? For example, you need to understand, or you just want to understand what is governance. You just need to understand what is ethics, right? Or for that matter, you just need to understand what is biotechnology, right? Let us say. So, this is one particular domain, one particular theme around which many things can be now understood. So rather than breaking the entire study into just syllabus or papers, what we try to do, we try to integrate the common themes together. Once the common themes are integrated together, right, with one understanding, with one basic concept, you can delve, you can move across various papers one after another. And that is how your content will be developed. So let us say you need to understand governance. Obviously, the entire context, right? The historical factors, the contributing factors, the journey of the emergence of the idea, right? The starting and the contemporary view regarding this particular idea, everything will be taught at the same time. Every vocabulary, every word, every term will be understood, discussed, analyzed, right? Imbibed, unless you are able to, review what you have learned in the format we want you to, in the format the UPSC desires from you, right? We'll keep doing it. Fine. Same, we apply to everything, right? You generally find you start studying ethics and you talk about what is ethics, what is morality, right? But where is the context? Where's the context? Fine. Why to study ethics? And in the first instance, was this study of ethics necessary, right? Considering the kind of moral or religiously fanatic society we are, a traditional society we are, a conservative society we are already a value-laden society. Don't do this, don't do that, this is not good, this is not right, this is bad, this should be avoided. See, we already have a lot of do's and don'ts. Fine. Was it necessary to study? Why in UPSC it was necessary, right? So it is very important first to know exactly the context. That is the initiation part. The acceptance part is that probably you know a lot of things before. You're already biased about this knowledge, and how that biasness has to be eliminated, because unless that biasness goes away, you will not be able to learn the new. Right? Once you accept it, then you try to understand it. Understand means various layers, layer by layer. Right? So the famous ghazal, the line, right? हर एक आदमी में है 10-20 आदमी. So that's the same thing here, right? Every word, every text that you read, it has multiple meanings. It has multiple perspectives that needs to be brought together to understand the totality of the idea. Understanding. Application, obviously, how this particular thing is relevant to the contemporary developments. What contemporary developments are taking place and how this knowledge helps us understand it better. Where do we fit this knowledge with respect to contemporary development? Visualization is moving beyond the textual understanding. What is visualization? See, how are we going to now replicate this knowledge, use this knowledge in various dimensions? For example, you're writing an essay. How do we use this knowledge? Right? For example, you're tackling interview. How do we use this knowledge? For example, let's say you're writing answers in the mains, the kind of answers, right, which you say that you have never studied. These are the shockers. These are something which we do not study. That is nothing not mentioned in the syllabus. How are you going to use it? So visualization will enhance your power of creativity, right? Your out-of-box thinking. So this program will be developed, nurtured in a particular way so that the student who enters into this program, right, who gets started with this program, once he finishes that particular program, right, he doesn't need anything else except keeping in tab, keeping in sync with the current perspective, nothing else he requires. Obviously, no program can claim that it is absolutely error-free. It's not possible. But yes, because we have a very strong feedback system, right? We keep reviewing it. We use multiple methodologies to remember things, to understand things, to memorize things, to write them, to express them, right? It could be multiple methods that can be used. Right? So whether it's newspaper or magazine or standard book or discussion or debate, right? Or impromptu, understanding impromptu debates, impromptu, certain kinds of discussions that we start, right? That will be very important because the future exam is going to be a kind of exam which will be based on the discursive, the argumentative ability of an individual. The future questions will not be the static questions picked up directly from a particular portion of the textbook, right? They will be demanding your extreme creativity and visualization because obviously you are the product of the AI, you are the product of the COVID, you are the product of the social media and technology. So you having a regressive orientation, you having a conservative and backward orientation, right, without having any food for thought, that is not going to sustain in the civil services for the future. In spite of the fact that even if the changes are made to the system, to the examination process, obviously the students who are studying subjects like public administration or political science or law, they will always survive, right? Especially without administration, you cannot understand general studies. So you cannot say, I'll do MBBS without physiology. I'll do engineering without studying mathematics. It's like same way saying I'll study for UPSc or I'll do public services without knowing administration. That is not possible. So certain areas will always be there. They are the center of this entire examination process. So we will talk about the exact methodology, the exact features of the programs over a period of time in the next discussion. As of now, I just wanted to tell you what is the essence of this program, and all the beginners, all the people who are starting the first year, the second year, third year, or obviously the people who want to again now revisit their strategy of general studies, they must look forward to this program. They must talk to us, find out exactly how it is going to be an improvement over what they have done till now. So obviously, I would say it is time to kill the dinosaur. It is time to eliminate the ancient history. So most of these institutions or systems which are following a patterned way, right? NCRT step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. End of the day, you just take the certain steps of the stairs, and ultimately you don't reach where you want, because there are people who are taking the flights. So no doubt the preparation starts with the grassroots level, but there has to be a vision, there has to be a visualization, there has to be an ability to deal with the kind of ambition, with the kind of competition you're going to face in the future. So this is a kind of disruption. This is an elimination of the dinosaurs, or the methods of the dinosaurs in the ancient history that has existed in this field, and that is what we intend to do. So anybody who has that potential, who has that will, or who is looking forward to that kind of model, and right from the beginning who have that aspiration, the desire not to be the part of the herd, right? They're all welcome, right? Unless obviously you qualify the interview, you're not eligible to be in this program, right? That will be a very simple personal interview that we'll take. Obviously, that will also be for giving you certain suggestions or giving you a particular feedback. All the best. Thank you so much for listening. Keep watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, right? See what all other activities we are doing, right? Anything that else you want, kindly send us as a feedback. Thank you so much. All the best.